Well, a very good afternoon from a blustery but increasingly bright A66 here on the North Pennine route. Winds are blowing pretty strong here behind me out of the west here. I'm looking towards the east, towards Scotch Corner, and quite a significant change in the weather pattern here compared to what it was further north in Scotland, where it was a lot wetter and of course cloudier as well. But I'm noticing here as I continue to go further south that the skies are improving here, and of course further south that I go, I'm on my way to King's Lynn in Norfolk. Further south I expect to see not only increased sunshine but also the temperature as well, because we are of course talking about potentially 26 degrees even in the area that I'm heading to, King's Lynn, which is about 40 miles to the west-northwest of Norwich. But it's a very interesting setup across Britain at the moment. What we've got here is, this is the current visible satellite imagery, which shows basically a hose pipe of moisture extending over western Scotland, where it's been raining persistently now for probably the best part of 24 hours or just under that. You notice here it's a ribbon of very deep cloud here representing rich tropical moisture here that is extending all the way back towards Bermuda. And if you look at the current pressure chart and precipitation, you can see here that this is the rain that's falling over western Scotland at the moment here. Of course, when you have a stalled or near stalled frontal boundary with a conveyor of Atlantic moisture extending from the tropics or subtropics, you get big rain totals, especially over the hills here, whether it be over Wales, the northwest of England, of course, which holds the UK record for highest rainfall in a 24-hour period, or the western side of Scotland. You get 1 to 2, even 3 days of rain, and you very easily get 150 to 200 millimeters of rainfall. And of course, that moisture, as it slams into the western hills, that air is forced to rise, cool, condense, and increase that rate of precipitation that maximizes the atmosphere's ability to produce rainfall. And that's exactly what we've got. Thankfully, there's no connection between this frontal system and this is now Hurricane Paulette, which is a big threat, of course, to Bermuda. If you've been watching social media or watching the news or anything, this is a beast here. This could be a major deal for Bermuda. But you notice here that there is no connection between the two. But you notice here that basically we've got this moisture coming from waters that are around 27 Celsius and extending it. It's enhancing rainfall along this boundary here that's stretching a good 2,000 miles across the Atlantic here. So that's very interesting. But we do tend to get this about once every year, or maybe once every 18 months or so. We get this type of setup. This is the type of setup where you get some of the biggest UK rains out with perhaps a thunderstorm. Another interesting factor to talk about, of course, we've had all the rain across Scotland, but the dividing line here, the separation between very mild air over England and Wales, this is low temperatures from this morning, by the way, and you can see here it was a fairly mild morning generally across the heart of England, into Wales, even the western side of Northern Ireland. But then get underneath that plume of moisture, even though that's a subtropical arm of moisture, of course all that rainfall helped keep for a fairly raw night, especially with gale force winds blowing across many parts of Scotland here. But over the next few days, the focus is not going to be on the rain. That rain is going to basically push north of Scotland later on today. The reason being is it's going to pivot north as this area of high pressure over northern France, southern England, shifts eastwards. The winds are going to then start to turn more southerly, and of course that is not only going to just push this boundary to the north of Scotland, but it's also going to push heat from France up into the UK. And we could be talking about temperatures tomorrow at 30 Celsius, maybe even 31, outside chance of 32 degrees on Tuesday. And then we are going to see that heat start to basically get shifted east as we go into the upcoming week here. So it looks as if Tuesday is going to be the wettest day, but you can see here as we skip forward, you can see here that arm of rain gets lifted north. Area of low pressure here to the west of the UK is going to get kind of stuck in place here. You notice we've got a high that's just south of Iceland. We've got another area of high pressure here to the west of this very deep area of low pressure, by the way. But what it's essentially doing is it's cycling it warmer from Africa, from Spain, from France, and pushing it into the UK here. Hence why we're going to see potentially the warmest September day for the UK in 4 years. And we're also, of course, going to continue to watch this system here, because I think this is going to be a player for the UK as we go forward. We're going to get a spell of somewhat more settled weather, high pressure driven, but I think Paulette, as it starts to get entrained within the westerlies, we're going to see that pattern short-lived over the British Isles. So you can see here right away, we've got high pressure over Scotland. We've got two areas of low pressure. One, of course, on the left-hand side, the western side, is Paulette. The other system here is just a regular area of low pressure, but fairly tight, compact as it is. And it's also divorced from the upper level winds, so you're not seeing much movement from that. But as we continue to skip through, what's interesting is actually the modelling has slightly shifted from the last time I looked at it. And actually, you notice here, Paulette doesn't get the connection with the jet here, and high pressure looks as if it's wanting to hold on across the British Isles. That area of low pressure over the Bay of Biscay eventually lifts north into the UK. That could bring a showery threat, even thunderstorms to southern parts of the British Isles here. But it's going to be interesting as we go into the second half of this month, actually, just how the weather pattern shapes up. Because, of course, like I said in the last video there, that basically the tropics has probably the primary influence on the jet stream as we go forward. A very supercharged Atlantic at the moment. We've got a lot of storms to talk about. We've got a lot of systems to worry about, especially for the United States and the Caribbean. But I think as we go forward here, it's the influence, it's the heat transfer northwards from these systems that is going to influence exactly what kind of weather we're going to see downstream of the jet stream. The behaviour of these tropical systems will determine, in a sense, what we're going to see as we go forward here. So, short video was meant to be, but as per usual, it becomes a bit longer when you're trying to explain things from a meteorological standpoint. Hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye for now.